Write down. Elegy 3 change. Elegy 3 change is a poem written by Donne. Full stop. An elegy is a poem of lament or mourning, mourning, or mourning, generally. Full stop. It is the poet's expression of the feeling of loss, over the death of somebody near and dear to her or him. Full stop. However, an elegy might be a poem of reflective nature. Reflective means deep thinking. Reflective nature regarding a grave, grave, grave or serious topic. Full stop. The metaphysical school of poetry was an important movement of the 18th century. And John Donne was the leader, the most important figure of that movement. Full stop. The poets of this movement were highly learned people, which is reflected in their poetry. The word metaphysical is derived from metaphysics, which is the discipline or the study of existence, reality, being, being. and the deeper meanings of all these abstract ideas, full stop. The most important feature of the metaphysical school of poetry is the use of highly obscure, obscure means difficult to understand, obscure language and the far-fetched, far-fetched similes or comparisons which is known as the conceit, conceit, which is known as the conceit. Full stop. Conceit is the comparison between two apparently dissimilar or far away things. For example, in a poem by Donne, that is The Sun Rising, he compares lovers to the two units of the compass. This is a far-fetched comparison and it is known as the conceit. Full stop. Another important feature of the metaphysical poetry is the use of wit, wit, and irony, irony, irony. Full stop. Next paragraph. The present poem change Elegy 3 is a fine example of the metaphysical poetry. Full stop. The poem appears in a single stanza The poem appears in the single stanza of 36 lines. 36 lines. Full stop. As the title suggests, the poem is about change. The poem is about change. Full stop. In general, everything in this world goes on changing. Everything in this world goes on changing. But there are some things which are ideally supposed to be constant, never changing. For example, true love, inverted commas मध्ये true love. In this poem, John Donne is expressing his views upon change in love in an ironic manner. Full stop. It is a kind of satirical comment. Upon women who are traditionally supposed to be disloyal and changing in love. Full stop. From the modern from the modern womanist womanist and feminist point of view John Donne can be criticized for presenting women in bad light. Full stop. there are many images and symbols. तुमचे भाऊ त्रास देतात का लेक्चर करताना तुम्हाला? बाकी दोघी there are many images and symbols in the poem used for women that are derogatory, insulting, that are derogatory, derogatory, in bracket insulting. Full stop. Next paragraph. In the first 4 lines of the poem, the speaker is talking to his beloved who is in love with him, and the love cannot be changed, yet there is a fear in his mind, because it is generally believed that women change in love. Full stop. In order to explain this changing nature of women's love, in the 5th line of the poem, the simile is used of arts, in arts into inverted commas, ARTS, arts. Full stop. Here is a comparison between arts, ARTS, put it into inverted commas, arts and women. Full stop. Arts is free and open for all the searchers, SEARCHERS, admirers, seekers, SEEKRS, seek म्हणजे मिळवण्याचा प्रयत्न करणे, seekers. Full stop. After this, there is the metaphor of a bird and a fowler, 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 in bracket bird catcher. bird catcher or hunter of wild birds. Hunter of wild birds, in bracket closed. Where the metaphor bird is used for women. Metaphor bird is used for women, and the fowler is for men. The fowler is for men. Full stop. The speaker's point is that a bird can be caught by many hunters, as a woman can be loved by many men. As in the 10th line of the poem, comma into double inverted commas. Put it in the next line at the center of the page. Into double inverted commas, the 10th line of the poem. Women are made for men. Women are made for men. Comma, in the same line, not him nor me. Not him nor me. Full stop, double inverted commas closed. This comment by John Donne not remain loyal or unchanging in love, according to the poet. He says that they cannot be bound to one man. They cannot be bound to one man. That means they cannot be loyal or faithful in love to one man. They cannot be loyal or faithful in love to one man. Since nature has not made them tolerant, patient, सहनशील. Full stop. In the 15th and 16th line of the poem, lines of the poem, women are described with two other metaphors. Clogs, CLOGS, means wooden shoes. Clogs, wooden shoes. And the galley, 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 Vadastambha. Here the poet wants to compare women to the obstacles in the man's life. in the man's life. Full stop. In lines number 17 and 18, in lines number 17 and 18, the women are supposed to be lands. The women are supposed to be lands or ground or the fields, fields, in which any grain, dhanya, any grain, any corn, corn, can be sown, sown, पेरणे, can be sown and grown, grown. Full stop. Next comes the comparison of women to the sea, sea, to the sea that receives all the rivers in it. Full stop. The poet here refers to the famous rivers in Europe, Danube, Danuby, Danube. That is the second longest river in Europe, Danube, comma Rhine, Rhine, comma Volga, Volga, Volga mainly flows in Russia, and Po, Po. As all these rivers, they ultimately reach the sea, and the sea receives them. Am I going too fast? Fast while as these as all these rivers, they reach the same sea, and the sea accepts them. So is the case with women. That is, they accept many men. Now nothing is more insulting than all these description by John Donne regarding the women. And they accept the love of many men, as if he wants to say. And this, full stop, and this freedom is given to the sea and to the women by nature. Full stop. In the line number 22, the poet has a doubt that the woman he loves can love other man also. Because he feels that love comes along with likeness. That is, to like someone is like loving someone, full stop. In the same line, that is line number 24, in the line number 24, he asks himself the question, whether he can change too, whether he can change too. Full stop. Further in the 25th line of the poem, he says that he hates change. Full stop. In the next 3-4 lines, the poet offers some more sarcastic comments regarding the nature of change in women's love. He further says that which is another sarcastic comment, that is, to live in one land, that is, to love only one man, is like living in captivity, or imprisonment. Whereas in the next line, he says comma into inverted commas, to run all countries. The last line on page number 109. To run all countries a wild roguery. Inverted commas closed, which is a sin according to him performed by women. Here the poem becomes paradoxical, not clear. Full stop. In the next line, he further explains this point. With the help of The example of water stinking. Stink means to spread unpleasant smell, bad smell. Water stinking, if it stays, stays, or remains in the same place, stays or remains in the same place for long time. Full stop. Immediately in the next line, the water that does not move, that is, does not change, is putrefied. 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 That is decayed. The water decays. सडून जाणे. DECAY. Full stop. But the same water, if it goes on moving, like the water in a river or a stream, STREAM, zara, river or a stream, that is, goes on touching, the water going on touching one bank, BANK, नदीचा किनारा, one bank and the other, time to time, then that water remains pure and fresh. Since the poet believes that, comma into, आता खालच्या ओळीत घ्या, in the next line, into double inverted comma, change is the nursery, next line, of music, comma, joy, comma, life, and eternity, full stop, double inverted commas close. Last paragraph. In this way, this is an excellent example of change and its nature. Full stop. The poem is an elegy of a serious theme, that is the nature of life, to go on changing. Full stop. The poet explains this with the help of women's changing nature in love. Though, THOUGH, this kind of comparison cannot be convincing. Not convincing means न पटण्यासारखं आहे. Not convincing to the modern mind, particularly from the feminist perspectives, म्हणजे स्त्रीवादी दृष्टिकोनातून जर पाहिलं तर दिस इज अ काइंड ऑफ रबिश व्हॉट द पोएट इज ट्राईंग टू एक्सप्लेन टू अस. फुल स्टॉप. होप की तुम्हाला थोडंफार पोएम कशाबद्दल आहे लक्षात आलं असेल. Now read the notes carefully and you can ask me if there is any difficulty or questions in the next class.